CBHA is here, and I think we have okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start the hearing with an opening statement, and hopefully I can get my technical difficulties settled. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can't.
All right.
We can't see you though. But that's. Oh, you're not. You're off camera. That's good. Right.
Yes, that's intentional until I can figure out what is going on. So, good morning, everyone. I'm City Councilor Lydia Edwards, Chair of the Committee on Government Operations. It is Monday, August 16, 2021, and we're here today for a virtual hearing on Docket 05494, Petition for a Special Law regarding an act relative to certain affordable housing in the Jamaica Plain section of the City of Boston. This matter was sponsored by Acting Mayor Janey and was referred to the Committee on Government Operations on April 28, 2021. In accordance with the Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, we are having this hearing via Zoom. This is to help us balance the public health needs of the moment, but also with the ability to do our jobs. The public may watch this hearing via live stream at www.boston.gov/city-council-tv and on Xfinity 8, RCN 82, and Verizon 964. It will be rebroadcasted at a later date. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.go@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. This home rule petition would authorize Boston Housing Authority, or BHA, to participate in a redevelopment and revitalization of the Mildred Haley housing development using federal funds. The docket would allow certain exemptions to Chapter 149, the state's contract procurement and award laws. Chapter 149 requires a structured filed sub-bid process that has separate requirements for general contractor and subcontractor selection. The Mildred C. Haley development is severely distressed, and BHA has filed and the city has approved similar legislation for the Whittier Street, for Orion Heights in East Boston, for Bromley Heath, for Mission Main, for Orchid Gardens, for Maverick Gardens, for West Broadway Homes, Old Colony, West Washington Beach, and Franklin Hill. So this is a typical home rule petition that we've often done for other neighborhoods. At previous hearings, BHA representatives explained that some relief from the requirements of Chapter 149 would result in cost savings. So we have, I believe, not only we are joined today by Joel Wolf from Boston Housing Authority. We're also joined again by my colleagues, Councillor Matt O'Malley, Councillor Ed Flynn, and Councillor Liz Braden. I'm going to, I believe Councillor Flynn, then Councillor Braden and Councillor O'Malley. I'm sorry if I got the order incorrect, but I'm going to go ahead and allow for my colleague to do some brief opening remarks, and then we'll turn it over to the administration. Councillor Flynn?
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Also want to say thank you to the BHA team that's here. I support this. I know the incredible role BHA plays in our city, and this home rule petition will help us move in that direction to make sure the residents of this development in Jamaica Plain receive decent housing at Mildred Haley. Also want to recognize our colleague Matt O'Malley, who has done exceptional work as well at this location. I'm proud to support this home rule, and thank you to everyone here for providing strong leadership on this.
Thank you so much. I actually got the order incorrect. It was Councillor O'Malley, then Councillor Flynn, then Councillor Braden. So Councillor O'Malley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. No problem at all. Thank you, Councillor Flynn, for your kind words, and I know Councillor Braden as well. This is obviously easy. It is so. It's just. I'm almost emotional thinking about touring then Bromley Heath a decade ago with Governor Patrick and Mayor Menino, and thinking, what is the future? What can we do to support the incredible families who live here? And what we're talking about today is going to really help facilitate something that will be life-changing, not only for the neighborhood of Jamaica Plain, but for the city of Boston, as we talk about an incredible partnership with JPNDC, with Urban Edge, with TCB, and of course with BHA. So to see some real incredible support and redevelopment, and just making sure that we have safe, clean, wonderful places to support this community. I've spent a lot of time in Mildred Haley. I started or continued a weekly hot dog nights during the summer that former Representative Jeff Sanchez had begun. Sadly, we've slowed those down because of the pandemic, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. And I know that Sheila Dillon and her entire team have just, and just everyone at BHA, Kate Bennett, everyone down the line, have been so supportive of this incredible institution. I'm just really happy to see what we can do to get to the next level and to get to this full renovation. I have one question I'll get to when we get to the Q&A, but otherwise, thank you, Joel, and thank you, Dean, for your great partnership as well.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I've had to jump off briefly for take a call, so I'll waive my time right now. Thank you.
No problem. So I
Thank
think
you.
I've gone through the councilors, so we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the administration, and then we'll just go through a round of questions from the from the councilors, just for on record. Just for me to note, I'm highly supportive of this. I think this is similar to the process we did for Bunker Hill. I don't know if I mentioned that, but Bunker Hill is the largest housing development in New England, and something I've supported before. So I intend to support this as well. I'll turn it over now to the administration, to Joe Will from BHA.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor O'Malley, and members of the committee. Thank you so much, members of the council. Thank you so much. And I'm joined, so Joel Will, Chief of Staff at the BHA, and I'm joined by Dean Papadimitriou, our Assistant General Counsel, who's worked on numerous, I think you did, Madam Chair, list a number of the past petitions and related efforts, and Dean has probably worked on all of them. So if there are any technical questions about the procurement piece of it, certainly happy to turn over there. Thanks also, Councilor O'Malley, for your tireless support of the community at Mildred Haley at Bromley Heath in the district, and for this project as well. Madam Chair, I think you did go through the purpose and intent of the legislation. I just want to mention a few pieces related to the redevelopment project. BHA is seeking to move forward with phase 1 of the Mildred Haley redevelopment project. This would cause for the creation of 673 homes in a new Anime Cole Community Center. For those of you who are not from or representing Jamaica Plain, there's a community center along Southwest Quarter Park by Jackson Square. It's been a wonderful facility. It's going to be a new, beautiful, much more wonderful facility during the pandemic. It's also served as a COVID testing site, including for BHA staff. I've been there multiple times myself, so we've made use of it. And in the redeveloped community, it's going to continue to provide a strong purpose and function for the community. This project is exciting for a number of reasons. One is just, and I couldn't say better than Councilor O'Malley, but one is certainly, renewing and restoring some of the existing public housing units. 253 units will be replaced on a 1-for-1 basis, as is the BHA's protocol to do 1-to-1 replacement of the units that are affordable at 30% of income. But there's also going to be 420 new units, and this includes some middle income units as well. So it will serve a wide range of incomes in redeveloped property. This phase 1, that doesn't encompass all of Mildred Haley. We will have a continued conversation about what will happen with the rest of the units, with the rest of the community. But this is, the intent is to move forward with what has been approved through the community process, through an extensive number of both BHA resident as well as DPDA and community-wide meetings, and move forward there. And as mentioned, building a new 6,800 square foot community center there. The project itself, it's a partnership of multiple entities, dubbed Center Street Partners. That includes 3 Boston-based nonprofits, JPNDC, the Community Builders, and Urban Edge. So working collaboratively on this effort and with the BHA as well. As noted by the chair in opening remarks, the legislative release is needed from Chapter 149. It's somewhat antiquated provisions that really restricts the ability to move forward in the manner that is best suitable in this process. And as noted, it often restricts the BHA from moving forward. Regardless of the project and the intent afterwards, the state law just provides some barriers that are unfortunately do increase costs and reduce, I think, the ability to achieve other policy aims as well. Most notably, the legislative relief allows us to avoid what would be delays that would, so both in terms of pushing the project forward and delaying some of the improvements we would like to collaboratively bring to the site, in addition to a higher dollar ticket value on that. So I think for the moment I will stop there, but we really appreciate the council's support. During my time, staff at the city council, certainly we went through at least 2 of these, one of which was, as the chair noted, for Bunker Hill. Appreciate the body's support for these projects to improve quality of life for our residents and to preserve and create new units still deeply affordable for the residents in Jamaica Plain.
Thank you. Was there anyone else from the administration, or were they available just for questions or background?
I believe Dean's available for questions, and I don't think we have other. And Dean, unless you'd like to say anything else, I don't think we have any.
If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes.
Excellent. And I do see that we've been joined by Joanna Hines. Joanna, I will we'll go ahead and have the counselors do any questions that they have, and we'll just go straight to you as well. Okay. So I'm going to lower your hand, but I do see you. Okay, so for counselors, I will start in order of arrival for any questions or concerns or process thoughts. We'll again go through Councilor O'Malley, then Councilor Flynn, and then Councilor Braden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions again, other than to reaffirm my complete, among the few regrets I have of leaving the city council is I won't be councilor when this is done, but certainly will be there as a citizen of District 6. Now, the plan all along, as I think you articulated, Joel, and for those watching, is that we're going to sort of rebuild these in phase. The whole project is going to take probably 10 or so years on top of what we've been waiting. But the thought all along was to start with the Anime Cole Center because people don't live there. And then we could eventually use that for staging, rebuilding, and allow folks to, when we begin to take down some of the buildings so that they can remain on site in newer, cleaner, better apartments. But obviously the Anime Cole Center, as you've referenced, has been such a resource during this pandemic. It's been a very active and well-used site. Mildred Haley is not quite the geographic center of the city, but it's pretty darn close to it, so it's easily accessible. It's obviously a place where I've been tested, I would bet 15 or 20 times over the last year and a half, and I'm curious. I would assume every time I get tested, I'll always say to the folks who work there, are you going to still be open next month? And they'll say, well, we only know through the end of the month. So they're not being evasive. I think it's unclear, but one would think that the testing site will remain for a while. And my question is that going to delay any of the work that we need to see, recognizing there's still a bunch of regulatory steps that need to be taken?
I will admit, Councillor, the testing obviously operation is a partnership with the Health Commission and other entities. We certainly get updates when it's extended because it serves a lot of BHA staff. I do not believe any testing operation would delay this project. I think if needed, we will work with, and I'll defer as far as to the testing operation, but I don't think that piece of it would delay. I think we would work with. We would work with the administration, with the Health Commission partners to make sure that other resources were available.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to also discuss that with IGR and other folks.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that. I guess my point is, I would assume that we will continue testing for quite a while. And again, there are still several regulatory steps that need to be taken before it's closed down. But I do think just, thinking out loud during this hearing, we should also perhaps loop in the Martha Elliott Health Center, which is directly, abuts the campus. So that could be another site that we could use. It's not quite as large as the Cole Center, but Certainly, there's parking. It's easily accessible by T. So that would be my my suggestion if we do have to close it, because I don't. My point is I don't want to see delay of this project, this renovation, when I think there could be other resources. But I also want to maintain a testing site in that on that campus or close to it. That's all. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Dean. Continue the great work. Anything I can do in the weeks leading up to, happy to work the phones once this gets to the state legislature in any way we can. But this is a really exciting thing. When done, this is going to be absolutely transformative for my district and our city. And I'm really excited to see how far we've gotten. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Flynn? You may have dropped off. Councillor Braden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is more of a process question. In terms of community engagement, how are the residents of Mildred Haley involved in planning this, and how are you engaging with that community?
Thank you, Councillor Braden. So we've had an extensive number of community. Well, we've had community meetings, particularly with the residents, over the past several years, between the BHA, and then when it got to that stage, the proposed development team, giving proposed plans, showing that there have also, that is in addition, this process. So we had sort of internal, if you will, BHA resident task force meetings over years, past several years, but there were also BPDA meetings in addition to that. So I would say that that's two tracks. And for the BHA, we do intentionally engage our residents directly and did do that in this case. So that's about what I can say. And I Councillor Malley reminded me of something that I want to add, just in terms of, because one of the things, people, residents often do want to see improvements to their sites, their homes. And one of the critical things is, well, I love living in this community. So if you do need to physically remove the building that I live in, what happens? Can I come back? How does this work? So part of, as was mentioned before, one of the things that always comes up is the right of return and how the relocation piece works. So part of the intent of the phased nature of these developments, which is similar to how we're working in other areas, is to preserve that thing, that the first question residents remind, if I want to return, can I come back? How? Again, to your colleague's point, that's one of the frequent things. And of course, as well as the design and, will we still have community amenities, things like that. So that would be my brief description. And if you have other questions on that for this process or for others or for future processes, we're very happy to engage in that more.
No, I think these are closely knit communities, and they do want to stay together. They don't want to get dispersed to the four winds. And then in terms of the new units that are being built, like some of them will be more, what sort of, do we have any projections on the price points in terms of AMI on those?
I should be able to get that for, and I apologize. I had written down middle income because this project is different than some that we have done in that there really is a middle category, but for the specific AMI percentages, I would have to follow up on that.
Yeah,
and I apologize. I should have had that right at my disposal, but I can get it to you shortly.
Not to worry. It's just to get some sense of the range of price of incomes that are going to be eligible, because that's where it's really critical.
I would just add that I believe that some of it is going to be dedicated as workforce housing, so it'll have restrictions. It'll be a slightly higher AMI, but still with restrictions. Yeah,
very good. This is a very exciting project, and thank you for all the great work. I know that you're working across the city and trying to renovate and make these buildings, bring them up to speed for 21st century challenges like climate change, etc. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And as promised, Joanna, if you're still here, Joanna Hines, I'm going to put you over to, should be good to speak. Joanna? Carrie, if Joanna.
I'm here. I just want
okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. You're welcome.
Nice to see you, Councillor Edwards. So I have a question, a few. I attended some of these meetings earlier in the year over Zoom, and I made comments about the tree canopy loss. I believe that they're taking down 128 mature trees, and it just strikes me as so there's just the conflict of interest here, especially given the IPCC climate report, which both yourself, Councillor Edwards, and Mr. Malley, or O'Malley, I'm sorry, I didn't see your name, responded to in the Globe. Malley as saying we no longer have the luxury of time, and yourself, Councillor Edwards, saying that today's report sent chills and terror through you. How are we not? Why can't we do better? I mean, the BHA alone is responsible for the decimation of thousands of mature trees from its properties. And these trees are being taken down during the pandemic, being authorized to be taken down over Zoom meetings that not everyone can attend. So I guess I'm begging the city and the people that represent us to do better, to fight for the rights of the people, the right to breathe. That doesn't mean you don't have affordable housing, but we can do better. And rehabbing buildings is one way to do better. Not only does that help save the trees, but it also reduces the footprint in terms of making, new buildings, which require cement and steel, both of which are huge emitters, concrete. So because this is still in the, there's still a conversation being had, I think it would be I think it's crucial that we discuss, ways in which we might save these trees, because a one-for-one replacement of mature trees is not sufficient, especially when those trees are saplings. And you know how I feel about this, Councillor Edwards. So,
I do.
Yeah. And then question, and this is something that I'm trying to understand across the city. And I think the woman, and again, I didn't write down your name, I'm sorry, who spoke so eloquently before me about the AMI, is an understanding of, it was always called deeply affordable. And now there's a term called income restricted. And there's a huge difference. If you're making $80,000 a year, I think you should have an opportunity to have an apartment that would be workforce. But that's very different than someone who's making 15. And what's to say that, so if everyone's put on a list at the end of the day, a BHA list, the BHA benefits from having people closer to the 80,000 than the 15,000. So it just feels like there's a lack of clarity, that a term that was understood as being deeply affordable is now referred to in many cases as income restricted, and we're losing all these trees. And it not only baffles me, it breaks my heart as a mom and a resident, because we trust you guys to make good decisions for our, not only for our physical health, as well as, and I don't think it's ever been a question of housing or trees. I think we're just not being creative enough, and we're letting developers get away with too much. So what can you do to save these trees? How can you read these reports and talk about the terror that it instills in you and sit there and sign off on 128 trees getting cut down? Thousands of BHA trees, while the city is organizing a urban forest plan that will never catch up with the rate of these Zoom meetings. It feels so rigged. And I'm not saying the intention is malicious, but where is the proactive, let's save our city, let's save some of these trees? It's hot, there's floods, we're going to be inundated with all sorts of climate, catastrophes. We need these trees. You can't get them back. They were there before a lot of the sidewalks. You'll never get them back. Not like they are today, not in our lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. So if, I don't know, Councillor Malley, and then I would also I'll address some of the comments.
Yeah, no, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd certainly invite Ms. Hines to observe our Berto 2.0 working session next week. I don't think anyone can question the bona fides that this council and my committee, quite frankly, have put forth on resiliency, nor could we question our commitment to deeply affordable housing and what is needed. I would also, invite anyone to, when it's hopefully safe to do so, particularly those who live in Jamaica Plain. And it's one thing that we really made a big push in getting folks who may not have spent any time in Mildred Haley or Bromley Heath before that to get involved with some of our wonderful mothers groups, parents group there, to get involved with some of the hot dog nights. It's a wonderful community, and the folks that live there deserve better housing than what they have. They've been, for those that may not know, there are a lot of issues with the physical plant. It's cold, it's imposing, it's those large towers that were built as affordable housing sort of entrant in the 1960s. And the plan that we're going to do here is absolutely going to be life-changing. And I believe, Joel, because of the work that we'll be doing, there'll also be, if not net zero carbon right away, we'll get there in our Berto 2.0 plan. So again, what we've been able to do on trees itself, on the tree canopy, is not in conflict with also providing individuals safe housing and wonderful and energy efficient housing. And I certainly appreciate the feedback, but I think it's misdirected, to be completely candid. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note, Joanna is a friend and a constituent from Charlestown whose passion for the environment comes through consistently. And she and I agree that trees should be centered. She and I may disagree on certain tactics, but I wanted to note that her heart is real, and she's been coming to our racial justice circles and working to honestly integrate and to have equity and social justice at the core in our neighborhood of Charleston. So I wanted to acknowledge that. I do also want to thank you, Joanna, for reminding us of the ICC report, but also of the comments that I made, and I still stand by them, and I think I can stand by them quite firmly and still support this for a couple reasons. As you noted, as Councilor O'Malley noted, that the Berto hearing, that's the building emissions reductions hearing, is coming up the working session. When we're finished, I made a commitment that it will be one of the most aggressive, if not the most effective building emissions regulations in the country. And that's due to Councilor O'Malley's stewardship and leadership. Building emissions, of course, as you know, are the number one emitter of emissions in the city of Boston, and the way we build has been the reason why. And so we need to regulate that, and we need to make sure that we are reducing the amount. 7% of buildings are actually a part of that. And I agree, how we develop has been one of the biggest reasons that we have emissions issues and climate change in Boston. Pre-tax benefits is something I've also come out in support of, and trying to push the city of Boston to make sure that we actually encourage people to take public transportation. We've also led on divestment from fossil fuels and trying to make sure that and we will have a hearing on that, assuring that the city of Boston's coffers and monies that are in trust are not also benefiting or invested in fossil fuels. So I believe, quite frankly, the urgency and the work that I'm doing, because you called me out, is evident in the work that I've been doing on environmental justice right now on the substation in East Boston and so on and so forth. We agree that trees are necessary for beauty, for clean air, and also as a matter of environmental justice. I think that there has been a back and forth over how best to get that done. And you have a commitment, you've had it from before, you have it to today, about making sure that trees are centered and part of the process. We had a separate hearing actually at the BPDA specifically on trees and the development of Bunker Hill. So this is not to the exclusion of them. And I agree with you, Joanna, you said it perfectly. It's not housing or trees. It isn't. And it shouldn't be. But this process, specifically about the bidding process that allows for us to go forward in a more efficient, cost-effective way, is not about housing or trees. It's about the process and making sure that this can continue. So I don't know that we disagree. I think I just wanted to make sure that, because you brought me in and specifically about my sense of climate urgency, I wanted to respond to that. Councilor Braden has raised her hand. I'm going to turn the microphone over to her.
A very brief comment, just to, I know this is slightly on the side of this discussion about replacing this housing, but I really feel strongly about the tree issue myself. And I think The one-to-one replacement may be a little modest. Maybe we should be shooting higher than that and trying to get a 2-to-1 replacement, because we know that a certain number of those trees aren't going to survive. And the other part of it is in terms of making sure that all of our hardscape is permeable. A tree will absorb like thousands of gallons of water in the groundwater in the course of a growing season, and a mature, healthy tree will. But there'll be an interim time, and I think as we see increased longer periods of like intense rainfall and more extreme rain weather events, making sure that our hardscape is permeable and that we do all those stormwater management strategies, which I am sure will be in the plan. So, but it's really just to be part of that whole holistic view of how we can make this the most sustainable and resilient space, housing development that we can possibly make, and make it just a great place, a healthy place, and a resilient place for people to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Wolf from BHA.
Thanks, Councillor. I just wanted to just make a couple of quick comments. One is that I think, well, first of all, to your point, Madam Chair, this particular piece of legislation is really about the procurement process. But with that said, I think the environmental protection, sustainability, and quality of life, both for the residents and surrounding community, is something that is incredibly important. It's important to me, someone who got my start in my career working on neighborhood green space and air quality. So it's something that I certainly think about every day. I think with the individual, projects and redevelopments, those are iterative processes where we're trying to balance multiple policy aims, and sometimes people are living in housing that needs to be improved for their health and well-being, as well as buildings that need to be updated, to the point of yourself and to our council pro tem president and longtime environment chair, Councillor Malley, that the building emissions need to come down as well. BHA does take feedback and input on that, and I think it's healthy to have that in discussion, both with us in terms of our operations, as well as when we're working with any development partner or redevelopment partner. And we also, have thought fairly expansively and are continuing to do so in terms of what we can do across the portfolio in terms of trees, green space, food access, and other related areas there. I think, trying to balance all of these things, we do have one-to-one replacement of the public housing units, as well as additional affordable and workforce units. So I think to Councillor Braden, to your point, we would love to have more public housing units or units at level built in the city. It's something that certainly Councillor Bach has been in dialogue with us about. Can we bring more very, very affordable units or units at public housing incomes there? This project, though, is actually unique in that we're adding a real middle tier, which has been incredibly hard to do financially with other projects. So it's something where we will continue to work with the city and the council with, and something we would love to talk about. Can we bring an even additional higher amount of the 30% of income units and site them elsewhere, perhaps in targeted ways. I personally do represent I'm happy that there's an urban forest plan. I personally represent the BHA in those conversations. I certainly have to pull in other staff. I have gone back to our operations team to talk about, are there pieces outside of the redevelopment, just in terms of preservation or whatnot, or things we can be doing. We don't have resources to have a staff arborist. It's something interesting to think about, because it's not just at the point of redevelopment, it's also keeping trees healthy. We'll continue to engage and both provide detail and respond to the recommendations, or if legislation comes from the city out of that, tree planting, we'll certainly be there with it. So we're happy to continue engaging those conversations. It is something that's important, as is the quality of life for the residents who live in units that desperately need to be updated. I think we can really balance both and get affordable housing and public housing there. And it's something we're committed to do. hope to continue to move forward on this project and others while, ensuring that we're doing both local and global right thing. And certainly to the point with Berto, we're going to have to. It's a really significant reduction that the BHA will have to make. I have been asking our energy manager to run numbers on that, just looking at the targets that the council and the administration are proposing. So we'll sprint to reach those and be happy to do so because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Unless I think the administration has any other comments, if anyone else has anything else to say, I don't have any more questions on the procurement process and allowing for this to go for the exceptions to the procurement process. The way this would go is this is a home rule petition. So after it comes out of City Council, it would then still have to go to the State House for additional vetting. Sorry, I see that there's a Sarah. Sarah would like to testify. Let's see, I'm gonna make her. Sarah, go ahead. Sarah Freeman. There we go. And you just need to unmute yourself.
There, hi, sorry. I only have a moment before another meeting, but I tuned in late. I hear that we're on a different topic, but I just want to thank you all for, hopefully thank you in advance for really taking Johanna's and other comments to heart, that we have this urban forest plan going on. We have Councilor Arroyo's proposed ordinance coming up. And at the same time, we have these plans that are pretty far down the road already. And I guess I'll invoke John Kerry, if any of you are old enough to remember, or it replayed when he was running for president, talking about Vietnam and who's going to be the last person to die in a war that he didn't support. I'll ask you all to think which is going to be the last project that kind of makes it convenient for the development by allowing a clean slate rather than raising the bar and getting the much needed housing, but asking the developers to work around some of these trees that it's going to take 80 years for these new trees to get that height, or 60 years. We're talking generations, and just try to get the city, I don't know when will be that magic moment, but I'm glad to see Joel on the other side now, it maybe hopefully having some influence on this. It's not easy to change the culture, but at some point we need to make the discussion more balanced. So I hope you all will take that to heart and act accordingly. I have to go, sorry.
No. Thank you so much, Sarah.
A quick response, I'd love to hear it, I guess.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for testifying. And I think Councilor O'Malley and I responded earlier, but this is, I don't know if you came in the middle of those responses, but
no, I heard that. Yeah.
Okay. So I would just reiterate my comments from earlier, but I don't know if Councilor O'Malley or anybody would like to respond.
No, always good to see Sarah. And Sarah is someone I know has spent a lot of time at Mildred Haley and getting to know the residents. So I know she, again, I think we're all on the same page here. I think we know that we need better housing and deeply affordable. And certainly looking at the guiding principles of environmentalism is something that I know Sarah and I have worked very closely on, and we will continue to do that.
Okay. Unless I see another person here for public testimony. Just checking again, don't want to close out. All right. Well, thank you all for attending today's hearing. Appreciate the voices and also the consideration. And again, as I stated, after the city council votes on this, assuming it gets out, acting mayor then must sign, and then it must go on to the State House for further consideration. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out today's hearing. Thank you all for attending. Take care.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Council.